this absolute joke of an interview. CJ covered a little bit of it. This interview is so trash. It's kind of not even worth covering. But there's one part that is particularly hilarious because Tucker Carlson starts off, and because he's big on the Epstein case, right? So he's like, Bill Barr is a fucking idiot. He's knowingly lying to people because he said Epstein kills himself. You don't think Epstein killed himself, right? And then Donald Trump literally dodges the question in the most desperate way I've ever seen. And because, as I explained to you guys before, this was a joke interview where there was no follow-up questions. At least Glenn with Vivek, you guys see, had follow-up on China. I pushed Dr. Cornel West on lesser two evilisms and his language on Biden. We asked some tough questions about mandates, the Ukraine war, et cetera, et cetera. I grilled him on Bernie, and this is despite us having a lot of agreements, right? The same way that Glenn is expected to push back on Vivek. But Tucker, being the two-party duopolist that he is, has Trump on for 46 minutes and completely licks his ass, gives him the easiest praise, the most praised, sycophantic interview I've ever seen in my life. Completely unimpressive. Don't know why anyone thinks there's any value in this at all. Because Tucker apparently supports Julian Assange. If you support Julian Assange and you got the guy in front of you that tried to kill Julian Assange, how about you ask him about that? If you have criticisms of Bill Barr, if you have criticism of Mike Pompeo and all these war hawks like John Bolton like you do, why don't you ask Donald Trump about why he hired so many deep state swamp monsters? No hard questions. This is probably, and I watched maybe about 25 minutes of this whole thing because I'm really struggling getting through this whole thing. But as far as I've seen, this is the only tough question that Tucker asked of Trump. And I think he asked this question because he believed that Trump would get this right because Trump watches Tucker. But so Tucker is aghast at Donald Trump's answer, which is pretty predictable to me because we know that Trump and Epstein have relationships as well. Tucker tries to ignore that. But Tucker is shocked at his answer, and he doesn't really push back. Let's listen to this weak shit here. This good.
It doesn't work out for us.
It was clear. This is kind of far afield, but it was just interesting. I read Barr's account of his time. He wrote a book about it,
right?
His autobiography, and in it he lies about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Clearly lies. Do you think Epstein killed himself sincerely?
I don't know. I will say that he was a fixture in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know what Barr said about it either. I have no idea what he said. What did he say? He killed himself, probably?
He said he killed himself and that they were going to do this investigation. They never did the investigation. It's never been public.
Well,
and they hid it. And why are they doing that? And clearly Barr knew. But why would Bill Barr be covering up the death of Jeffrey Epstein?
Now, this is something that Tucker Carlson hits on all the time. Why is he lying for Jeffrey Epstein? So watch Trump do the same thing essentially that Tucker Carlson is accusing Bill Barr of doing here. And Trump saying that there's a chance that Epstein didn't kill himself is absurd. I'll explain here soon.
Bill Barr didn't do an investigation on the election fraud either, okay? He said he did, and he pretended he did, but he didn't. McSwain, the U.S. attorney in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, said Barr just wouldn't let him do it. It was crazy. Barr became so petrified, so frightened of being impeached. They were going to impeach him. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah.
It's not a big moment in history. But they said, we're going to impeach. They play a much rougher game, the left, the lunatics. And they were going to impeach Bill Barr, and he was petrified. Now, how do you not get impeached? Don't do any of this stuff. But he didn't do the job there. I don't know what he did with Epstein, but possibly he didn't.
Do you think it's possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably.
So Trump is so weak. Trump is panicking here because he don't want to piss Tucker off. But he first no, I don't think he did. So Tucker had all the heat in the world for Bill Barr, and he had for anyone who said that Epstein killed himself, because that's absurd to believe. So then after Tucker brings it up again and pushes him, Trump like, I don't believe he killed himself. They had the man on suicide watch. He had nothing but paper and the ceiling short enough where it's literally physically impossible to hang yourself. Then the cameras went out and the security guard went on an unapproved break. Anyone who believes that Epstein killed himself in these situations is a establishment moron. And I say that because you turn your brain off to the point where you just believe anything the establishment says. There's been people who was at that facility before who was under suicide watch who later explained it is literally physically impossible to hang yourself in a short ceiling with only paper and a security guard on watch, even if you somehow pull that off. It's absolutely absurd. And then the security camera go off. But Trump still is not allowed to say he killed himself. Why do you guys think that is? Let's play up again. I'll let him finish.
Get impeached. Don't do any of this stuff. But he didn't do the job there. I don't know what he did with Epstein, but possibly he didn't.
Do you think it's possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably
don't really believe
committed suicide. He had a life with, beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people. There are many people.
So that's just Trump straight out saying that. Yeah, I think he committed suicide. Yeah, he was a very successful man. His life was ruined. So somehow he hung himself with only paper on a short ceiling. So surely Tucker Carlson is going to grill him on this, right? Because he just called out Bill Barr for this. And now Trump has the same position as Bill Barr, and the establishment does, because he also was part of the Epstein corruption. So does Tucker Carlson push back on this notorious, most viewed interview of all time?
Really believe. I think he probably committed suicide. He had a life with, beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people. There are many people. I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
You think so?
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all. I believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General, clearly lied about the Epstein death.
See, calling out Bill Barr for lying, but Trump is lying too. You guys think that Trump don't know about this case? Get the fuck out of here. He pretended he haven't been following this case, fam. We know that Trump watches Tucker Carlson. We know that Trump watches Fox News. So Trump didn't see a single segment on Fox News about Epstein. So Trump is lying regarding his entire answer. Trump like, Epstein, nigga, I don't know anything about no Epstein. It's the same thing that Bernie did when asked about when he was asked about Ukraine. Bernie was like, I don't know anything about Ukraine. Tucker like, he definitely killed himself because of the reasons why I just explained to you guys. It's fucking that story that the establishment concocted is absurd. This guy killed himself under suicide prevention where no one ever did that before. He did the impossible. The impossible. And the security guard didn't see it, and the security footage was down. What kind of moron believes that? Who believes that? Trump does. Bill Barr does. But you guys see the venom that Tucker has for Bill Barr for saying essentially the same thing that Trump believes? So I'll let it play again, because you expect Tucker to go harder at Trump, and let's see what he says after Trump's next.
The closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all. I believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General, clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah,
and
he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was.
Oh, so you do know. So you do know about the case. You do know. Tucker didn't say anything about that. So you do know about the case, but you still say that Epstein killed himself. Interesting.
Sleeping, and a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you a case.
You look at that reaction by Tucker. That is pure panic. Like, he laughs, look at his camera like, oh, what the fuck? Because he realized that Trump is the guy that he was criticizing. Now, does he take that time? Now, does he reassess and call out Trump for this garbage that he's spewing about Epstein? Let's see. I don't want to spoil it. But I want you guys to look at Tucker's reaction after Trump's response. His laugh is just pure like, you can't be serious, fam. You can't be serious.
I believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah,
and
he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you a case could be made either way. But
I'm not going to get involved in it. A case can be made either way. That's some Marianne Williamson shit right there. I don't know. I can see it. I can see the case either way. I can see the case for the Ukraine war. I can see the case against the Ukraine. That's the same thing Marianne Williamson does, fam. I can see the case either way. And you explained just now how you know the case. You know that the security guards were sleeping. You know that the cameras were down. But you still saying that the case can be made either way? And then you, the commander-in-chief, don't want anything to do about it. Now, a guy who's been rumored to be part of the Epstein flights, someone who's been connected with Epstein before, you would think that you would want to condemn Epstein, right? Right? It's almost like this motherfucker is afraid of saying shit about Epstein. Now, once again, I want to do the preface again. Will Tucker Carlson call this out?
he was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you a case could be made either way. But it certainly wasn't the most well-run place.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking at the trajectory since 2000.
So you're gonna push back and go hard on him the same way you went hard at Bill Barr, right, Tucker? You're an independent journalist. You got the president right in front of your face, lying to your audience that Epstein didn't kill himself. So surely you're gonna follow up, right?
In 2015, when you got into politics, for real, and then won. It started with protests against you, massive protests,
Right.
organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment twice,
Right.
and now indictment. I mean, the next stage is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you? Honestly,
Why is the establishment so mean to you, Trump? Why do you think the establishment hates you, Trump? That's your follow-up? You're not gonna grill him on Epstein some more? Essentially, the theme that this entire interview the entire theme of this interview is, hey, Trump, why do you think these people are so mean to you? Fam, you guys will fucking destroy us if we had a politician and we gave him an interview like this. We grilled Dr. Cornel West on the lesser of two evils. We asked him about mandates. We asked him and we questioned some rhetoric that we disagree with. I talked about and I questioned him regarding his stance on calling Trump a fascist versus Biden a fascist, right? There are things that we push back on Dr. Cornel West, even though we are lying. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson handling Trump with kids' gloves because he's making a calculation that he can't piss off Trump supporters. So now I'm asking you guys, I said it earlier this week, when I was like, I'm not interested in this. I'd rather see Trump on a debate stage talking about Ukraine with his competitors. That would have been way more interesting than this shit. Tucker Carlson does good stuff when he calls out and he is oppositional to the establishment. Everything he does regarding Trump, which is a lot of his work, is garbage. There's the Tucker Carlson that grills Mike Pence, that does good stuff, and then there's the Trump sycophant, Tucker Carlson, that is worthless two-party duopoly is trash. Calling out all the wars, calling out the establishment. But you're not calling out Trump for hiring the establishment, not draining the swamp? Letting him get away with this bullshit lie about Epstein that you clearly have no patience with regarding Bill Barr. So why was it better for Trump to do this interview versus him debating Mike Pence on Ukraine, for example? This was weak. And seeing Trump fans cheer this on, exactly why me and CJ told you guys we're not interested. They're not our concern building with these people. They were cheering on literal Nancy Pelosi tactics. Nancy Pelosi tactics is she will not debate Shahid Buttar because she feel like she's so ahead in the polls. And people grilled her for that. People grilled Joseph Biden, Jim Crow Joe, because he refuses to debate RFK and Marianne Williamson. But then Trump is such a pussy, he refuses to debate weak-ass Chris Christie and Mike Pence, and he runs to do a softball interview with Tucker Carlson. What a weak cuck Trump is. This is the person that impressed MAGA communists? This is what people think the right-wing populist movement is made of? Consider me not impressed, as I've explained many times. Weak little cuck ran to do a little softball interview. And once again, I can say this stuff because I explained before, the Democrats who make fun of Trump are hypocrites because Joe Biden don't debate. So are we going to be consistent and call out Joe Biden for not debating? Why is Trump off the hook? Tucker,